In this video, we'll be going over the new maps Valve made for Half-Life 1 for its 25th anniversary update. Isn't it strange hearing that though? That there's now 4 more new maps for a game that came out in 1998. I mean, it's normal, it happens to some games from time to time, but it feels kind of odd for Half-Life, I don't know. Anyway, this is a follow-up video to the video that came before this one. Check it out if you haven't. So, in the new update, Valve made 4 brand new maps for the game's multiplayer component. These are Contamination, Pool Party, Disposal, and Rocket Frenzy. Plus, they added in 3 maps that were originally in the Half-Life Further data release from 1999, which was basically a companion CD type thing for the main game. It had a bunch of goodies in it like sprays, maps, and models. After looking at the maps, I'll also talk about a few other things at the end, things I should have highlighted before. So let's get started. Contamination is an industry-themed map that takes place in a processing facility. It has a very dusky feeling that makes it surprisingly calm in visuals, but it also has a stark contrast in some of its interiors where metal meets the earth and bright cold lights dimly lit the hallways. There's also me in the map, Lamau. There's not a whole lot of elevation to the whole map, but instead quite a bit of routes and pathways to navigate around. While looking at this map and the other 3 Valve made, you'll notice a very polished sort of quality in all of them. Like compared to the original old ones from '98, these are packed with little details, complex geometry, and great texture work. Of course, that's to be expected by Valve. They never cut it short on this sort of stuff in their mapping. Pool Party started off in this interior area, but surprised me with its setting. We're literally in the middle of a floating island in Zen. Again, there's a great use of color in this map. The interior sure have this metallic and cyber theme to it, but it has these glowing green and yellow lights, and then you move out and there's mostly warm colors paired with the purple sky behind them. Pool Party's layout is mostly a looping one with a wide open area in the middle. I really liked the texture of the pool and how all of the maps now use this, I guess, a glowing sprite to add a halo or a glow around the light sources. It's done subtly, which almost makes it look like there's dynamic lighting in the game now. Disposal takes place in a radioactive waste disposal facility, as obvious by its name. I really liked the nighttime vibe of the outside area, but also the interiors as well. There was this odd sense of melancholy, strangely, the way the rooms are lit and how the lighting is done with a somber mood. The layout of the map can be described as 3 parts, where there's the starting waste area, the outside area, and the other side with the lift platform or whatever that is. I'm not a fan of the layout, but the overall visual vibe of this map was absolutely brilliant. Definitely Valve showcasing that what they do it best. Rocket Frenzy is a map that's all about elevation. Basically, there's a center area with a rocket in the middle. Each floor has a different area with buttons to turn on 3 different things. Once you turn all of them on, you can actually launch the rocket into space and the players caught in the launch area get killed. I'm guessing this is like Crossfire, where you can also nuke everyone. What I specifically like about this map is how each of the floor has its own kind of vibe. One's like a maintenance area, the other's like a warehouse type area, and then there's an office-like area. Each of these sub-areas have their own specific style of lighting that I loved. The map is very narrow in its layout, so there's bound to be plenty of close-quarter battles. The 3 maps from Further Data are Double Cross, Rust Mill, and Zen DM. Double Cross is basically an extended version of Crossfire, so it's pretty large, but visually almost the same as Crossfire. Rust Mill is a pretty good map too, albeit sparse of any specific highlights. It takes place in a big industrial area and the layout of the map is a bit confusing, but still, it's good. Zen DM is basically a floating island in Zen. There's jump pads around that you can use to get on top of the structure, plus there's a little interior area too. The low gravity makes it a bit fun, but apart from that, there's nothing much else to say about it. Now that we're done with the map, I also wanted to highlight the fact that the new update broke a lot of stuff too. Games like Blue Shift or Op 4 didn't launch, neither did mods. But in a new update, Valve has fixed a lot of these issues and are also working on fixing further compatibility issues. And speaking of mods, I wanted to point out that the update improved the engine itself. The rendering was improved to have high-resolution textures and sprite files. The engine itself can now have more sound channels, more sentences for the NPCs to say, more entities in the map, and so on. In general, or basically, they increased the amount of elements that can be used in a map, and I'm saying that roughly. What all of this basically means is that the goal source engine can now do some more heavy lifting right out of the box, without the need to do further programming or tweaking to the engine itself. Also, the engine can now use the Func vehicle entity, which basically means that you can now have movable and controllable vehicles in a map. This was lifted straight out of Counter-Strike, and something that is actually incredibly nostalgic for me, because I used to download all these maps that had cars and carts in them, and I would just drive them around. Good stuff. The release notes did say that there's a full SDK update coming soon, but I can't really tell if that update will further improve the engine, or it'll just implement the updates that affect Half-Life right now. And lastly, before I end the video, I noticed quite a few people were kind of upset with Valve over this update. The main criticism I saw was that Valve didn't do enough, or that Valve should rather focus on making new things rather than working so hard to update old games. While these are all valid criticisms and opinions, the way I look at it is just that I'm just happy that one of my all-time favorite games got an official update like this. Yes, I too would have loved Valve to come out and announce a new game or a sequel or even a new IP, but at this point I just don't expect anything to happen, and that's just the life of a Valve fanboy, I think. So whatever happens, like this update for Half-Life 1, it all comes off as a very pleasant surprise. Another criticism was that this should have been a situation where Half-Life should have gotten the same treatment as Quake 1 and 2. That would be cool, but I highly doubt Valve themselves would ever try to do another port or remaster, or even let someone like Night Dive Studios do it. It's just how they operate and work. But yeah, overall, the anniversary update was a pleasant surprise, and now, because of this, I can't help but think what we'll get for Half-Life 2's 20th anniversary. So, that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching, and a big thanks to these benefactors for supporting the channel. Quiltman, Unusual, 501st Clone Boy, Interloper CS, T-Boy301, TTG, Robocop, Noel, Nobody Important, Franco Sanlehi, Cheemsboger, Justin Imbergriff, Taiwanesium, Tedosaur, Otakan Nachos, Lambdre, Decoder Mapping, Roadkill, Walter, Taylor, Hobgobbies, NoClick, Geote, Fisher Grice, Hawk Assault, Mistress Pabon, Jelen, A Normal Street Lamp, TRR Droid, and Bipolit. Thanks again, and see you in the next one.